Hey, this is MJ, and today we're going to be working on crocheting the Ruby V tank top. For this tutorial, I'll be using a 5.5mm crochet hook, and this is my Furl Swirl hook, and I'll also be using Sugarbush Yarns Bliss. To begin, it's always important that you make a gauge swatch. So I have 13 stitches in 4 inches, and I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 rows in 4 inches. So you may need to adjust your hook size in order to get the same gauge as I have, or possibly changing the yarn. Sugarbush Yarns Bliss is a number 2, but I would say that it's maybe closer to a DK weight. But you can, I will have in the description box a link for looking at yarn substitutions that will help you out in determining the right yarn. And this is a really soft, bouncy, really silky yarn, so you're going to get a really great finished tank top. It is merino and silk and cashmere, so it's really soft, really luxurious. So the back and the front panel will begin the same. Let's make a slip knot. And we're going to begin by chaining out 64. You want to make sure that your chain is fairly loose because we'll be working the herringbone double crochet, which is a really loose stitch. So that chain, you really want to make sure that it is loose and not too tight. So now what we're going to do is work a herringbone double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3. So yarn over, going through, and then we're going to pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Let's go through that again. So yarn over, go through the chain, grab your loop, and now we're going to pull it right through the first loop on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 1, pull through 2. Yarn over, go through the chain, pulling your loop right through the first loop. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. It can be a little tricky at the start, but you will get the hang of it as you go. So we're going to work those all the way across, and you can see that they're pulling to this side. Okay, so once you get to the end, I want you to chain 2 and turn. Okay, so now after you've done your first row, as you can see, mine's nice and stretchy. My chain isn't too tight, so it's not pulling in. It looks really good. If at this point your chain is pulling a lot more than your stitches, you're going to want to go back and make that chain loose. Even if you need to go up a hook size in order to do that, you need to make sure that starting chain is not too tight. So now we're just going to begin back with our herringbone double crochet stitches all the way across, and you should have a total of 62 stitches in total. And we're just going to repeat this in rows until we have about 8.5 inches worth of work. Okay, so once you have about your 8.5 inches worth of work, we're going to start dipping in for our armholes. Okay, so I've worked up about 20 rows, and I ended on my wrong side because I want to begin the armholes here on the right side of my work. So what we're going to do is slip stitch across 4 stitches. Okay, and then we'll start right into our herringbone double crochet, and we're going to work that all the way across until we have 4 stitches remaining, because when we get over here we won't work those last 4 stitches because we slip stitched into these first 4. Okay, so then when you have your 4 stitches remaining, I just want you to turn, chain 2, we'll work a herringbone double in the first stitch, and then we're going to decrease the next 2 stitches. So yarn over, go through, pull up a loop, go right into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and I want you to pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we've decreased those 2 stitches. We'll work all the way across now until there are 3 stitches remaining. Okay, so I'll complete that and I'll meet you up on the other side. Okay, so I have 3 stitches remaining. What we're going to do is decrease the next 2. So go through, pull up a loop, go right into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and now we're pulling through 2, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And then just a regular herringbone double in the last. And then we'll chain 2 and turn. So now we're just repeating this pattern across. So in the first stitch, we'll do a herringbone, and then we're going to decrease the next 2. Pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So we always do the first regular and then do the decrease in the next 2. So now again, we'll work all the way across until we have 3 stitches remaining. And this will be a gradual, it will gradually just move in for your tank. Okay, so I have my 3 stitches remaining here. So we're going to decrease the next 2. And then 1 herringbone double in the last. Chain 2 and we'll turn. Okay, and then again we're going to do the exact same thing for this row as well. Do a herringbone double in the first, and then we're decreasing the next 2. We'll go all the way across and do the same for the last 3 stitches. Okay, now we're doing our, I have 3 stitches remaining, we're doing our decrease. And this should bring you to 48 stitches. I'll chain 2 and turn. So now we're back to the right side of our work, and I'm just going to give it a measure at this point. Okay, so I have about 10 inches, which is what we want to start now our dip in the center. And this, at this point, if you wanted to have a more full back, just don't do your dip here in the center. You can just continue with your decreases on only the one side. But if you want that V in the back as well, then follow what I'm going to show you here for both panels. Okay, so what I've done is I've counted over 24 stitches, put a marker, counted over 24 stitches from this side and put a marker. Okay, so we're not working in to those two center stitches. So we have 23 stitches here, 23 stitches here that we're working into. So now we'll work our herringbone in the first, and then we'll decrease the next two. And I'll get you to work all the way across to 3 stitches before the marker. Okay, so we have 3 stitches before the marker. So now we'll do a decrease in the next 2. And then a herringbone in the last. Chain 2 and turn. So now we're just doing this decrease on both sides. So a herringbone in the first, and then a decrease across the next 2. Work all the way across to the last 3, and we're just going to keep repeating this now. Okay, and I'm coming to the end here, so we're doing our decrease, and in the last stitch a herringbone double, chain 2 and turn. Herringbone double in the first, and a decrease across the next 2. Okay, so we're coming to the end. We'll decrease and a herringbone in the final. Okay, and chain 2 and turn. Herringbone double in the first, and we're decreasing the next 2. And I'll work all the way across to the last 3. So I'm at 13 stitches. So I'm decreasing, so this is 14 and 15. And I'm not going to do any more decreases now along this side. So we'll chain 2 and turn. Okay, so I'm back again to the right side of my work. The first row is our right side, and I am just going to put a stitch marker. This can sometimes help you to remember. So if we just have a marker on our right side, we know that's our right side. So now, no, we won't be doing any more decreases. We'll just be decreasing this side from now on. Okay, so I have my 3 stitches remaining. We'll do a decrease. And a herringbone double, chain 2 and turn. So now I'm going to work a few of these rows off camera because we're just doing now the same thing. Decreasing on the inside only. And I'll meet you up when we have about 4 stitches remaining. Okay, so I've worked to 4 stitches. So this is what it should be looking at this point. Okay, and I'm just going to fasten off. And that's how that's looking. And now what we're going to do is join in right here. Okay, so we'll join in. Chain 2. And we'll work a herringbone in that first stitch. And then we'll do our decrease. And we'll work a herringbone, and I'm just crocheting over my tail here as I go. Every stitch across until we have 3 stitches remaining, and we're just basically going to work the same as we did this panel. We're going to decrease both sides. Until we have 15 stitches, and then we only will decrease the one side. Okay, so I'm just finishing up here. Here's my 14th stitch and my 15th. Chain 2. So now we're just going to again keep decreasing this side until we have 4 stitches remaining. So it's basically the same as what we did on the other side, so you can just continue that on your own. And if you want to have your V style back, make an identical panel. Like I say, if you want a full coverage back, you would just decrease here, but not do any of your decreases here, and then you would have a full back. And I would suggest maybe getting an additional ball if you are filling in the back. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do 2 panels identical with the V to make it nice and light and airy for summer. And when I have my panels completed, I'm going to meet you back up again to show you how to finish the piece. Okay, so I've just blocked my 2 pieces to measurements. I've dampened them, pinned them out, and allowed them to fully dry. Okay, so I just attached a piece of yarn onto the bottom and knotted it, and I'm just seaming up the side, and I'm just going through a small amount on each side. Picking up a strand on one side and the other. And you want to do that all the way along. Okay, and then when you've completed that, you just want to weave your yarn needle one way and then in the opposite direction. Now what you can do when you're making yours is you can always stitch this across and try it on and just see how you like the length. If you want to shorten them up a little bit so that you have a smaller armhole, you can do that, or even go a little bit longer if you want a bit more room. So it's a good idea just to try it on to be sure before you decide. I found initially it just felt too long for me, so I shortened it up, and I think this is a really good length. So once I was satisfied with how everything fit, once I tried it on, I went ahead and did some single crochet edging. So around the bottom of our piece here, you just want to join on and work a single crochet border all the way along the bottom. So work single crochets in each stitch, and then when you get back here, you just want to slip stitch to join, fasten off, weave in those ends. I added a personalized tag here. These are from Brick Bubble, and there'll be links in the description box for those. And I also did a single crochet edge around the arm opening. It just gives it, you could leave this as is, but it just gives it a little bit cleaner look. So I like to join down here under the arm, just work a single crochet evenly around, and then slip stitch to join, weave in your ends. So do that on both sides. And I also did this on the back as well. And now I joined up here because I think that's sort of the least noticeable. So kind of to the back, and then just work all the way around, just finishing off that edge, slip stitch to join and fasten off. And that's all there is to it. So this is a really quick and easy project. I do have Sugar Bush Yarns Bliss available in my shop if you're interested, and you can also purchase it from Love Crafts.